Om Ajnanatimidandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shrishtam Manumapi Satchiputram Matra Swarupam Rupam tasyagrajam rupurim maturim goshtavatim Radha kundam girivaram maho Radhikamadhavasam Prabdo yasya pratitha kripaya Shri gurum tam natusme Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nikhila shruti mole ratnamaladiti Nirajita padapankajanta Aji mukta kulairupasyamanam Paritastam harinam samshayami Anarpitacharim chirat karunaya patirna kalho Samarpaitum unnato jvalarasam svabhakti shriyam Hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipitaha Sada hridaye khandare spurato vasachinandanaha Ajanulambita bhujo khanakavadato Sankirtanai kapitaro kamalaya taksho Vishwambharo dvijavaro jugadharma palo Vande jagat priyakaro karunavataro Ladini Shakti Swarupaya Gauranga Suridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namostute He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Radhe Vrindavanadishe Karunamritavahine Kripaya Nichapadabja Dasyanmayam Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vihinaya Aparadhalakshay Kshipta Shtakamadi Tarangamadhe Kripa Tvam Sharanam Prapanam Vrinde Namaste Charanarabindam Vrinde Namaste Charanarabindam Shri Satchidananda Gaur Hari Ki Jai Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Navadvipdham Parikram Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai Gaur Premanand Hari Hari Bol So, good morning to all. Pranam. Welcome. Can you hear me? If it's too low, you can come closer because, yeah, morning throat, that's has its limits. So, welcome again to yet another day in our Navadvipdham Parikram, in one sense, as we say yesterday. Today we are officially beginning, though there has been so many beginnings and there will continue to be so many beginnings. It's always a further arrival. And today, of course, as you know, in a few moments later today, we'll be visiting the birthplace of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, called the Yoga Pith. So somehow it's a beginning, it's a birthplace. At the same time, Gaura-līlā, Mahaprabhu, his Lila, his existence are eternal, right? There is no beginning in time to the existence of the many faces of the Absolute. But at the same time, we are talking in terms of beginnings. Sometimes we beginners need to be talking in terms of beginnings. we cannot conceive something that has no beginning, no end. So sometimes it helps. Okay, let's talk about beginning. So Gaura-līlā, the existence of Mahaprabhu and his Lila on earth, has a beginning in time, if you will, though it has an eternal existence beyond this particular realm. So again, today we'll be going to the birthplace of Mahaprabhu in Navadvip, here in Mayapur, on planet Earth, which happened a few hundreds of years ago. But before going to that birthplace, we will go to another birthplace into today's sharing in the morning, to another birthplace of the Gaura-līlās we hinted at yesterday, which is Krishna-Līlā. We can speak in terms of Gaura-Līlā is born from Krishna-Līlā. Again, it's eternal reality. But sometimes we can speak in terms of beginnings. It helps our mind to conceive things a little bit. So as I say yesterday, for many of us, Gaura-Līlā can be, unfortunately, seen as a mere bridge to Krishna-Līlā. Okay, Krishna came as Mahaprabhu, brought Harinam Sankirtan, you sing the whole names, and you go to Krishna-Līlā, bas. No, bas means that's it. No, thank you, bridge, Gaura-Līlā bridge. We can burn the bridge. We are on the other side of the river. We don't need that bridge anymore. But that's not Gaura-Līlā. Gaura-Līlā is very deep. Yeah, it's an entry gate to Krishna-Līlā, but at the same time, we can think in terms of as deeper as you go in Krishna-Līlā, you find yourself in Gaura-Līlā. There's a particular verse composed by Prabodhananda Saraswati, Yatayata Gaura Padara Bindim Bindeta Bhaktim Krita Punya Rasi, Tatata Sarpati Kritya Kashmada Rādhā Padam Boja Sudhambu Rasi. He said, the deeper you go into the service of Sriman Mahaprabhu, the more you emerge and find yourself in the service of the lotus feet of Śrī Rādhā. So in that sense, you can say, okay, Gaura-Līlā is the entry point, and that takes you to the service of Radha, the service of Radha and Krishna. But then there's another verse composed by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, which basically says the other thing. The deeper you go into the service of Radha and Krishna, the deeper you find yourself in the service of Mahaprabhu. So again, it's not one or the other. Remember, we are not coming here to the Dham to think in terms of either or. No? The land of paradox, the land where all things are possible. So one takes you deeper to the other. The one and the other are not two separate things. Gaura-Līlā, Krishna-Līlā are one. Krishna Mahaprabhu are one. Navadvip Vrindavan are one. And different. And one. And different. Bhed abhed. That's our philosophy. So we better get along with embracing a metaphysical system that says reality is one and different all the time, simultaneously, coexisting of paradox. Good luck with that. That's the school we have subscribed to, so we have to walk our talk. So again, there is a way to think of Gaura-Līlās emerging not only out of Krishna-Līlā, but emerging out of the deepest depths of Krishna-Līlā, or the highest peaks, however you may like to call it, of Krishna-Līlā. Gaura-Līlā explodes as the result of Krishna-Līlā's zenith. So again, we will talk today about that a little bit, connecting Krishna-Līlā with Gaura-Līlā, speaking about the birthplace of Gaura-Līlā, one of the many ways of talking about the birthplace of Mahaprabhu and Gaura-Līlā. There's a beautiful verse in, again, going back to the paradox, on Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna-Līlā Mrita Sartara Sarta Satadardar Yahadihe Bahadaha Hoite Se Chaitanya-Līlā Hoy Sarabharakshay Manohamsa Charati Tahate. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Srila Siddha Maharaj translates these verses. Krishna-Līlā Mrita Sarta. The Krishna-Līlā is the essence of all nectar, and it's expressed in all directions. But Se Chaitanya-Līlā Hoy Sarabharakshay. All these directions of Krishna-Līlā are coming from Chaitanya-Līlā. So there, it's another way of, again, going back to, from Gaura-Līlā, all the streams of Krishna-Līlā come. And from Krishna-Līlā, all the streams of Gaura-Līlā. They're one Līlā, expressed in different ways. Manohamsa charati tahate. From this lake may the swan of my mind swim in forever. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions. So we'll go to one important verse in the Bhagavatam today. I don't have my whiteboard here, but it's okay. I trust that you already know the verse by heart, so no problem. And if not, we have homework, if you want, voluntary homework. And also during these lectures, during all these days, I'll try to speak more in terms of Mahaprabhu and Gauranga and Śrī Caitanya Dev more than Krishna. I mean, it's the same person. But sometimes we are accustomed just to hear Krishna, Krishna. So we are in the land of Mahaprabhu. So I will try to make a point of speaking about Krishna as Mahaprabhu. And hopefully you don't feel why Maharaj is talking about another guy. No. Why he brings into the picture a separate God. No, it's not a separate God, it's the same thing. No. So if someday we do a 1 week parikram in Radha-Kṛṣṇa, we will only talk in terms of Radha. No. And we are talking about the same non-dual absolute. So we need to train our inner muscles. Let's see how the experiment goes. Pounding the post of the Gauranga post. So today I'd like to go to one famous verse of the Bhāgavatam, which begins saying, Na Paraye. We'll go there in a minute. And we'll talk about Gaura-līlā as the ultimate emergence of Krishna-līlā, the ultimate gift. Gaura-līlā as Krishna's unpayable debt to Śrī Rādhā. Let's put it that way. And how Mahaprabhu comes again, eternal reality, but manifests in time for our benefit as a result of that. And it will be based, many of the things on these notes and ideas that are there waiting for future works on Gaura-līlā, Gaura-tata that I like to write about at some point. Hopefully this parikram gives me enough momentum to say, okay, Maharaj, now do it. I have a few more devotees torturing me on a weekly basis, like, so Mahaprabhu, Maharaj, your next book will be that one, right? Finally? Sorry, I have another one in mind. So let's see if the parikram renders that purpose, has that purpose also. So we can say so many things about Mahaprabhu, Śrī Caitanya Dev, Gaura Sundar. No, he's as the most something. No? At least personally, he's the most empathic God, God in his most empathic moment, God in his most ecstatic moment, God in his most introspective moment, God in his most, what else? Generous moment. You let me know. What else? God in his most magnanimous moment, God in his most vulnerable moment, thank you. God in his most curious moment. Confusing, trying to solve a crisis, an existential crisis. Sometimes it has been said, Mahaprabhu is Krishna in existential crisis, wondering who I am. God in his most astonished moment. Also, we could say Mahaprabhu is God in his most indebted moment. So that was an interesting. How can God have debts, right? We generally go to God with our debts and pray to him to help us pay our own debts over here. Krishna says in the Gita, Artha Jignasura Artharti Gyanicha. Some people come to me just looking for money from me so they can pay their debts. But they don't know to find the ultimate secret that I'm actually very indebted. I'm more indebted than all of them. The real debt that can help us transcend all the other debts. You want to transcend the karmic debt, you have to acquire a new debt with a higher department. Right? And Krishna is leading the way in the form of Mahaprabhu, saying, I have a debt, and no matter what I do, I cannot pay it back. The more I try to pay it back, the more the debt increases. It's a debt of love, as we will see. So, again, this is all connected with this verse in the Bhāgavatam. And before going there, we'll need to say a few things. Before reaching the zenith of Krishna-Līlā and the birthplace of Gaura-Līlā in the context of the Srimad Bhāgavatam. And there are many ways to talk about this. Some of you have read this chapter 4 of Adi-Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita I shared with you a few weeks ago. That's a way of thinking and talking about what we are talking today, but there are many ways. So today we are taking the depth perspective. Gaura-Līlā is born out of Krishna's depth. So again, having a depth is not a problem necessarily. This is a good way of, again, our philosophy is find the positive in everything, even in depths. Yeah. Of course, it's a matter of acquiring the proper depth with the proper department. So Krishna is overwhelmed with the weight of the depth that he has acquired in connection to Radha's heart. So he's asking, as we will see, how can I repay this debt? How much is the debt? I cannot count it even. How to relieve myself of the weight of this debt? How to honor the gift I'm receiving? So in summary, before going to the Bhagavatam narrative, we could say that Mahaprabhu is Krishna, overwhelmed with his own good fortune of being loved by someone like Radha. Let's put it that way. That's Mahaprabhu. It's Krishna himself being overwhelmed in gratitude, moved to tears by realizing how I'm being loved in such a way. No, how such love can be possible? How someone can love me? God himself is thinking that way. He's not thinking, oh, I'm God. It makes sense. People love me in this way. I mean, I'm pretty cool, right? So it's no wonder that people love me. But loved in such a way, with such intensity as Śrī Rādhā loves me, Krishna is overwhelmed in trying not only to pay it back, but as we will see, curious about experiencing what it means to love me from that place. That's a very interesting theological reality that the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition brings to us. So we will try to explore today how, again, Gaura-līlā is not just a theological, let's say, add-on, but the natural psychological extension of Krishna-līlā. Krishna has certain necessities, certain emotional necessities that need to be fulfilled, and a Līlā isn't required for that to happen. And that we call Gaura-līlā. It's not possible in Vrindavan, in Krishna-līlā, as we will see, for certain nature of the rules and what's going on there. So a new, again, it's eternal, but a new Līlā needs to manifest for that to be possible. And that extension of Krishna-līlā is Gaura-līlā. That extension of Vrindavan is Navadvip, which can accommodate somehow what in Vrindavan is not fully possible. That's the nature of Navadvip. It's more accommodating. Again, Navadvip and Vrindavan are not different. Just Navadvip is like a more elastic extension of Vrindavan to accommodate and allow what somehow is not possible in Vrindavan. And Mahaprabhu is Krishna in that more flexible form that can experience and accommodate what is not possible for him there. So again, Gaura-līlā will be the natural conclusion, the natural appendix to Krishna-līlā. Sometimes in Sanskrit it's called, sorry, I don't have the whiteboard, Parishishta-līlā. Like if you have in a book the appendix, I don't mean the one in our body, the appendix of a book. So you wrote the book and then comes the afterthought, something else you feel, I need this to be said to complete the whole work, to make the whole full circle. So that's in Sanskrit called Parishishta. So Gaura-līlā is the Parishishta-līlā of Krishna-līlā. Krishna-līlā is there, beautiful, perfect, but it needs some final closure, so to say, to be fully complete. Without Gaura-līlā, we will say Krishna-līlā is a failure. With all respect to Krishna-līlā. And you will, hopefully you will understand what I mean as we go along. So, where to begin? Well, let's begin with the general notion of God. Of course, for many of us, some of us coming from Western background, most of us, sometimes we may have a notion of God that is true, but we will say it's not the all in all about God. No, God like the cosmic administrator, controller of the universe, creator, maintainer, destroyer, whatever. This more like government-like functions, like cosmic administrator. God at the presidential house, the universal emperor. And many times that had taken the idea of, okay, God is too far away, somewhere else, is to be feared. There has to be some fear, some reverence, some distance. And there is a place for all of that. We are not condemning any of that. That's a particular, option in the menu, right? You want to taste that connection with the divine, that's available. Bahumurti Ekamurti Kam Devatan say. The one divine person takes many forms, no? To reciprocate with the different approaches. So here we are not, though we may have our own cup of tea, we are not here to criticize or downplay any other particular approach. Even those who would like to experience non-differentiatedness in impersonal Brahman, there is place for that in eternity. That's not our cup of tea, probably, but there is a place for that in eternity. So if that's possible in eternity, how bad can that be? Right? So anyhow, going back to the idea of God as a personal God, monotheism, again, there are different ideas of God. A God who is Atmaram, self-satisfied, who needs basically nothing. So we don't have much service to offer because God has no necessities. He's Atmaram, all desire fulfilled. So we are there basically to praise the self-satisfied God. So there is a realm, corresponding realms for that, corresponding forms of God, where like Lakshmi Narayan in Vaikuntha, Vishnu is self-satisfied basically. He's not dying in separation from someone or crying. He's like Narayan, and everyone is praising God. Well aware he is God, all our respects to him, all our love to him. Love also is there. But with a deep, clear awareness, God is God. And we are to be relating accordingly. Now, in the Gaudiya tradition, as you know, and there's a little bit much more to say to that. Actually, one of the words for God, we in English will say the divine. The word divine comes from the Sanskrit deva, which translates as God. But deva comes from the root div, which means to play. So that's interesting, because the word for God, divine, deva, div, boils down to the notion of playing. So for us at least, God is he or she or they who play. A playful God. If God is not playful, so that's interesting, because for us, God implies more an idea of someone who doesn't play, who is very serious, who has all desires accomplished, has basically nothing to do, bordering boredom, let's be honest. Now, when we speak about someone who plays, that brings another window of opportunity. And that's interesting, because if God is he who plays, and if we will say if God plays, he plays really hard. No? Like if we will play as children, we became so absorbed in play that play becomes its own reality. We forget that there is something called dad, mom, lunch, and mom is in the back saying lunch, but we are playing. No? We have entered the realm of play. It becomes its own ultimate reality. So if that happens for us as kids, imagine what God plays. The level of absorption in play to the point that he forgets that he's God even. That's interesting, right? A playful God, Deva, plays so hard, so deep, that he loses sight of the fact that he's actually God. And all the ones who are playing with him, because he's not playing by himself, and that would be also boring on another level. So he's filled with playmates, you say? Playmates. So all of them become so absorbed in the play that not only God forgets he's God, everyone forgets he's God. It's not like, oh, God forgot he's God, and everyone else reminding him, hey, you are God, don't forget that. The more they remind him of that, the more the play ends stop being play. So all of them become more and more absorbed in play. A playful God and a playful reality. So that's the name for God, Deva. Another name for the Absolute in our tradition is Brahman. And we'll have great difficulty to finish today at 9, but we'll try our best. Brahman means, sometimes we understand as impersonal God. Brahman comes from the root Sanskrit brim, which we can explain it in English, which means to brim, to be brimming. Or brim means to expand and makes others expand. That's the meaning of Brahman. That reality which grows and makes others, which is brimming what? Brimming over? Brimming reality. So it's ever new, ever fresh, ever expanding, ever evolving, and a God who plays. So Deva, Brahma, we have a God, a playful divine, who is always growing and expanding and making everything and everyone grow and expand. And the natural consequence of that is the word lila, that means divine play. A playful God in ever-evolving expansion engages with his playmates in lila. It's not karma, it's lila. It's action, activity, but looks ordinary, because God stops being aware he's God, everyone forgets he's God. We say, what's going on? You are in Maya, you forgot Krishna is God. You have to remember Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to remember that at some point, till it comes the day where we start to forget about that and see him in terms of play, right? So these are some of the notions that our tradition entertains. Playful God, ever expanding. When the Bhagavatam say Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam, Prabhupada say Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, and means this. Krishna is for us the ultimate face of the divine, and that ultimate face of the divine is unaware that he is God. Right? That's interesting. The highest form of divinity is the one where the notion of divinity goes to the background. The notion of intimacy and playful interaction becomes the norm. So our main book in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam tries to build this case gradually. Speaking about God first in generic terms, and Narayan and Vishnu appearing, that's the main. Apart from the 10th canto, which is Kṛṣṇa-līlā, the whole of the Bhagavatam is Vishnu, Narayan appearing all over, basically, if you pay attention. So it's trying to make the case. There is something called God, self-satisfied, Vishnu, Narayan, we pray to. I mean, nothing wrong with that. But gradually it's building the case. Canto 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th canto. After a few 10,000 verses, we reach 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, which is all about Kṛṣṇa-līlā. It's the longest chapter of the book, 90 chapters. And then we have 2 more cantos, which are like an afterthought of the 10th canto, to make sure we understood the 10th canto correctly. The 10th canto is the zenith of the Bhagavatam, and the zenith of the 10th canto is the Braja-līlā, the Līlas of Krishna in Vrindavan, because in the 10th canto there are the Līlas in Mathura, in Dwarka. But Braja-līlā, for us at least, different schools will have different takes, but for us, the Braja-līlā, the divine play in Vrindavan, is the zenith of the Bhagavatam. And inside that zenith, there is another zenith or peak inside the Braja-līlā, which will be the Rasa-līlā, the circular dance between Krishna and the gopis and Radha, which are chapters 29 till 33. 5 chapters called Rasa Panchadhyaya, 5 chapters about Rasa-līlā. So in this Rasa-līlā, as you may know, Krishna is inviting the gopis for the circular dance. There are so many things to say. Of course, I'm being brief here. And Krishna eventually, when the gopis come here in the flute, leaving everything behind, that's the main preliminary condition, leave everything behind. That's warming up in Kṛṣṇa-līlā, leave everything behind. Then we start to talk seriously about things. So gopis show up, Krishna says, what are you doing here? You should return home. It's too late. I'm single boy. You are all, most of you married. That's strange for society. Go back. And they're like, you called us. We hear our name in the sound of the flute. And they start to debate, and gopis win the debate, and they stay. So they start Rasa-līlā. But in that Rasa-līlā, some gopis were not eternal associates. They start to become somehow proud. Oh, I'm fortunate. Krishna is with me only. And Krishna says, oh, this is not so tasty. He disappears. He's taking Rasa-līlā to different levels. Order, disorder, reorder, right? Union, separation. So disappears, and he goes with Śrī Rādhā alone. And as we know the section, all the gopis looking for Krishna in madness, seeing Krishna everywhere, talking to the bees, to the vines, to the trees, like everyone is giving hints where Krishna is, and they found these footsteps of Krishna. And another gopi, there the name of Radha appears indirectly in the Bhagavatam, Naya Radhito Nunam. And eventually they find not Krishna, but Radha by herself, being abandoned by Krishna. There are many reasons for that. We need a whole separate retreat to just explain that. So let's leave some mystery in between the lines. So all the gopis who are looking for Krishna, they realize, oh, this gopi has been the one that Krishna went with, and she has been abandoned. So they don't feel jealous, envious, they feel empathic with her, and they join Radha, and all of them together start to sing in separation of Krishna, the famous Gopi Gita. Jayati dikam janmana braja, and so on. Beautiful 20 verses, 1 chapter of the Bhagavatam. And Krishna is hiding behind the tamal tree. His complexion is like that of the tamal tree. His name, one name of Krishna is Tamal Krishna. So he's camouflaging himself behind the tamal tree and witnessing the song of the gopis in separation. This is called Viraha Mahotsav, great festival of union in separation. And again, Krishna will explain to the gopis eventually after this song, Krishna returns, appears in the midst of the gopis, carrying a cloth behind, like a chadar on top of his neck. At that time, if you appear like this, means you are a criminal. So he reappears acknowledging, I'm a criminal. I'm almost killed you in separation. Your love is such a thing. So he starts, the gopis asking, like, why you disappeared? No? I mean, we were dancing and there are so many things he could say, but he say, I disappeared because I love you. It's like, what? This guy is quite paradoxical, right? We're dancing, celebrating life together, and suddenly you are not there anymore. Again, he wanted to take the whole thing to another level, and he say, I disappear because I love you. Why? Because I love you, I want to give the best to you. And the best I can give to anyone is to make whatever is necessary for their love to increase. So I knew your love will increase to a new degree in separation from me. So I disappeared just for your love to increase. And I did that because I love you. The gopis were like, interesting logic. And then comes this famous verse that represents the birth of Gaura-līlā in the midst of Kṛṣṇa-līlā. And I'll go there in a minute. And that will be the last verse of this chapter, Krishna's confession of an unpayable debt. But again, before that, Krishna is looking behind the tamal tree, gopis are singing, Radha is leading the kirtan, and the hearts of all the gopis of Radha in particular is blossoming in separation to a new level of love that Krishna never witnessed before. And he was looking all this, and again, he disappeared with the purpose that I told you, that he said, but now Krishna is discovering a new purpose. Like, oh, I'm seeing their hearts blossoming to some degree that I want to experience that. That was a purpose that came to him. He was not in his plan, basically. So Krishna reappears among the gopis, as I say. Sukadev Goswami says, Sakshan Manmata Manmataha. Krishna appears directly like the Cupid of Cupids. Cupid is the personification of something irresistibly attractive, and Krishna appears like the Cupid of Cupid, like his charm and beauty has no comparison. Why? Because he appears in that ever new increased beauty after witnessing the newly level of increased love in Radha and the gopis. So the new love that they showed made him more beautiful. Right? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami makes that point. Krishna becomes more beautiful at every moment, and the love of the gopis becomes greater at every moment to honor that new beauty. And Krishna receives that love, and he becomes more beautiful. And they become more loving, and he becomes more beautiful. And the two engage in a competition with none of them accept defeat. So this is the case here. Krishna appears as more beautiful than ever. Why? Because Radha's love was expressed in a new level that was more beautiful than ever. So he appears endowed with the impact of that increased love by Radha, beautiful, in a new beauty, unprecedented level of beauty. But before going to the verse that he pronounces when he reappears in the midst of the gopis, there's an interesting verse that happens like 15 chapters before in the 10th canto of the Bhāgavatam, in the Brahma Vimohan-līlā that I always like to quote. Remember the Brahma Vimohan-līlā, Brahma trying to steal the calves, the cowherd boys, and eventually his forehead spinning like crazy after all that happened there. And then he offers prayers, Brahma's stuti, like 40 prayers. And one of the prayers, because at this point Brahma has witnessed the greatness of the love of the Brajavasis, how they love him in intimacy without being aware he's God, loving him for who he is. Because if I love you because you are God, that's still a post, right? I love you because you are the president, not because who you are. I love you because you are God. But God has his own self, right? God is a post. You follow my point? To be the president of the universe is a post, but you have your own personal private life. So Brahma somehow was very aware first Krishna is God, but he sees the Brajavasi, so they are loving you not because you are God, but for who you are, as a friend, as a child, as a son, as a love. What's going on here? So his foreheads are like. So at one point he tells Krishna, how will you repay back the love of these Brajavasis? Because some time ago, Putana, this demon lady, came disguised as a Sadhvi, as a saintly lady, offered her breast milk, but trying to kill you. There was poison there. So there's nothing worse than that. Imagine you appear as a nurse, very saintly, and want to kill a newborn baby. That appears in all the news, right? So Putana tried to do that with Krishna. How Krishna reciprocated? He gave her Vatsalya Rasa, a position in Goloka as a mother. That sounds quite disproportionate. So Brahma is thinking that you gave that to Putana who wanted to kill you. What will you give to the Brajavasis who give everything to you? Their houses, their bodies, their minds, their hearts. How you possibly repay their love? Brahma asks. It's not a prayer, it's a question he's asking. And Krishna doesn't say anything, right? Because he hears that question, it's like, that's a good question. So he keeps ruminating on the question, ruminating, creating more room inside of him to answer the question. So many chapters come. Chapter 14, 10th canto, fast forward till chapter almost 32 of the Bhagavatam. And now Krishna is again witnessing the love of the gopis, Radha's heart blossoming, new beauty. And he's remembering Brahma's question, how you will repay to them. So now comes this verse where Krishna will say how he will repay to the gopis. As we will see, his reply will be, I cannot repay. And this will be the birth of Gaura-līlā. Don't lose the thread where we are going here. So the verse is in chapter 32, 10th canto, verse 22. That's the very last verse of this particular chapter. Now it ends there with that verse, which says, Na parayeham nirabadya samjayam swasadu kritam vihustaya sappiva jamabhajam durjarageha shrinkala sambrishya tadva pratyatu sadhuna. That's Krishna's confession to the gopis after he reappears from the tamal tree, after he witnesses the glory of their love and separation from him, after he says, I actually disappeared so your love for me increases. But now after witnessing that love, he says here, Na parayeham, I'm not able to repay back your love for me. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 11, he says what? Yeyatamam prapadyanti tams tataiva bhajamyam. According to how you serve me, surrender to me, I reciprocate accordingly. Here Krishna is breaking that rule. Say, I cannot follow that verse. That's applicable to general people, general devotees. You are too much. I have to contradict myself from the Bhagavad Gita. I cannot repay back. That verse applies to certain context. That's how you have to understand scripture in context. Because you take these two verses, here Krishna is contradicting himself. And he finds himself in trouble, saying, yeah, I'm contradicting myself. Your love makes me a contradictory God. Say, I'm not able to pay back your love. It's too much. I'm not able to pay the debt acquired for your spotless service. Even within a lifetime of Brahma, he says. That's a long time. Even if I try to do as much as I can, it's not possible. Your connection with me, he says to the gopis, is beyond reproach. Although it seems immoral from an external perspective, it's beyond all fault. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, all the things that are the greatest attachment for most people. You just throw it out the window in a moment. And this is very difficult to break for most people. Therefore, he said, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. Love, the conclusion of this verse is basically love is its own reward. You cannot pay back love. It's too much, even for God. So this verse is considered the essence of the Rasa Panchadhyaya, these 5 chapters of the Gopi Gita of the Rasa Panchadhyaya, which is the essence of the Braja-līlā, which is the essence of the 10th canto, which is the essence of the Bhagavatam, which is the essence of all scripture. So this verse is the essence of the essence of the essence of the essence. And from this verse, as we will see in a moment, Gaura-līlā is coming as a natural expression of the essence of the essence of the essence. Therefore, Gaura-līlā is that essence of the essence of the essence of the essence. So again, Krishna is saying here the love of the gopis, and then the psychology of the gopis is we are not giving them too much to Krishna. He's giving us so much to us. That's their humility. The gopis are not thinking, oh yeah, you are right, we are giving you so much. You can never pay us back. They're thinking the opposite. And Krishna feels exactly the same. That's the humility of love. That's why Sanatana Goswami says, Dhanyam prema, Dhanyam prem. Love and humility are cause and effect of each other. The more love you have, the more humble you become. And you never think, I'm giving so much, he's not giving me enough. It's the other way around. So Krishna is saying, I'm not able to pay back. Even he's saying here, I'm not able to pay back for one single service of one single gopi offered at one single moment. Even that I'm not able to pay back. One single act of service by one single gopi at one single, what to speak of all the service of all the gopis at all time that is being coming to me. I cannot, not only I cannot pay back, Krishna said, I don't even know how much is the debt. It's so much. So much the love I'm receiving. And because you may have the debt of $3 billion, and you know it's $3 billion, and you may know I will never able to pay that, but you know the number. But when we speak about the debt that you cannot even fathom, then that's a real debt. So Krishna is saying that the way you love me, I cannot pay back. Because whatever I give you in service, you immediately take it and offer that in service back to me. And you are one-pointed loving me. Krishna says, I have so many devotees that I have to reciprocate with. I'm divided in so many directions. You are not divided like me. You are just focused on me. So the quality of your love is so different. So he recognizes, this verse is quoted in Brihad Bhagavatamrita of Sanatana Goswami. He explains this verse in very nice detail, saying, and it's interesting because Sanatana Goswami is Lavanga Manjari, so an intimate servant of Radha, who is the one voicing out to the world, revealing. Here Krishna is saying he's quite indebted to my Swamini, no, to my lady. So basically this verse says that love is its own reward. No? That's why Prem Prayojan, the goal of life is divine love. And the necessity of life is love. There's nothing beyond that. And everyone is indebted with love. And of course, in this context, Sanatana Goswami explains, this is the birth of Gaura-līlā. Because here Krishna is telling to Radha, I cannot pay back, even if one reading of the verses, even in a lifetime of Brahma, I cannot repay back. But he also say another interpretation is, even if I cannot repay back, I will try to pay back by appearing once in a lifetime of Brahma, which is Mahaprabhu appearing in this particular Kali Yuga, in the particular mood of relishing the mood of Radha. Because this is one purpose here. Gaura-līlā is not only trying to pay back, Krishna trying to pay back to Radha, but again, another purpose comes into Krishna here. I want to explore the glories of her heart. These are the three main internal purposes for the advent of Śrī Caitanya Dev. We'll go there today to the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, but that birthplace, that birth is connected to his birth, which happened thousands of years ago in Vrindavan on earth, right? So Krishna witnesses the glory of the love of Radha, and these three purposes come. I want to know the glories of the love of Radha. I want to know the beauty that she perceives in me, that I cannot perceive myself. And I want to know the happiness that she derives in witnessing that. For that, I need to enter into her bhav. I need to step into her mood. I need to come, a new lila needs to be manifested for me to enter into that mood. That's Mahaprabhu. Being Radha Bhava Dyuti Subalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupa. Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna combined in a certain way. It's Krishna, Naumi Krishna Swarupam, but Radha Bhava Dyuti Subalitam. Being endowed with the inner mood of Radha and externally being covered by the external halo color of Radha. That's why Mahaprabhu is golden, like Radha is golden as well. The name of Radha is Gauri, Gauri Gopika. And it is said that Radha, she knows, no? There are many stories. I cannot tell you all this retreat, but there are many stories that explain how Gaura-līlā happens. And in one of them, Krishna is telling Radha, having a dream and telling Radha, okay, I will come. And Radha said, but if you come in my mood, you don't know what you are asking for. You want to taste the intensity of my love, you will end up on the floor, rolling on the ground, hitting your head on the wall, crying. And And I cannot, I mean, Radha says, I cannot tolerate even the thought of you walking barefoot and being touched by one pebble that may cause to you the slightest discomfort. That for me is torture in itself, even if it doesn't happen. Just the thought of the possibility of one pebble causing you the slightest discomfort. What to speak of you entering into my mood and just hitting your head on the wall and roll. So the only way I can allow that is I will cover you with my collar on the outside, and I will receive that myself. Because she knows you will try to experience my love. That's intense. And you see the pastimes of Mahaprabhu in Gambhira and Puri. On Gambhira, he's hitting his head on the wall and this. And so Radha is covering Krishna on the outside, and he's in her mood on the inside as well. So going back to this verse that I just quoted, a few more minutes before we conclude. Pratyatu sadhana, the word sadhu comes in this verse. So one way of understanding this, Krishna is saying to the gopis and to Radha in particular, your sadhutva, your saintliness is such that I'm indebted to you. Your sadhuness is such that forgive my debt to you, I cannot pay back. But another way of understanding sadhana is the only way I can try to repay this debt is by me becoming a sadhu. And that's Śrī Caitanya did. Again, it's Krishna in the mood of a bhakta, of a devotee. So you are such a devotee of me that I have to become a devotee of you and try to sing your glories throughout the world. So Mahaprabhu is Krishna trying to expand the glories of Radha and the gopi throughout the world. And also he knows, you gopis are renouncing so much for me. That's another conversation. We may have that when we go to Puri someday. In relation to the sannyas of Mahaprabhu. Why Mahaprabhu accepts sannyas? There is an external reason. But the internal reason is he knows, oh, you gopis are renouncing everything for my sake. Family, friends. I'm not renouncing any of that. I'm not leaving Yashoda, Nanda, my friends for you. I cannot. It makes sense. But you are renouncing everything for me. So I have to myself renounce everything as you are doing. So that's Mahaprabhu accepting sannyas. Leaving everything behind, trying to repay back the renunciation of the gopis and Radha for him. So this is how Krishna is thinking at this point. I cannot repay back, but at least I can to try to make devotees for Radha as Mahaprabhu. Try to expand her glories. So Mahaprabhu is that, especially in his sannyas lila, preaching. Preaching in this case means making devotees for Radha. Again, because Krishna is well aware the intensity of love of Radha, that requires so much assistance, so much support on a daily basis. She's dying in separation of Krishna. I mean, not just blinking for a moment, as we know, that's the intensity of her love. Radha blinks, and that nanosecond of blinking is for her like a Jugaitam Nimeshina. That's what Mahaprabhu says in her mood, Jugaitam Nimeshina. One blink feels like a yuga, like an age in separation of you. And the separation is just the blinking. So Krishna knows, as Mahaprabhu, you need so much help. You need so much support. So I will come as Mahaprabhu and try to make dasis for you. I will try to make servants for you that can do that service to you, support you in your moments of greatest need. On my behalf, they can help me pay your debt to you. Again, Krishna is trying his best to pay back the debt of love to Radha and the gopis. He's trying. I try what I can do. I'll try to make devotees for you. They will be there for you, support you. Still, he feels the debt keeps increasing, but he cannot just sit in an idle way like, okay, I cannot pay, sorry, my debt, good luck. He's trying his best. So Gaura-līlā basically is that. It's Mahaprabhu, Krishna's desperate attempt to give something back. So in one sense, we could say there is deep gratitude in Gaura-līlā. Gratitude originates in Gaura-līlā here. It's Krishna existing forever in this eternal form, not only acknowledging his debt, but trying to pay back in eternity, to serve Radha's love. Acknowledging his debt, trying to offer himself in bhakti to her. Mahaprabhu is, Gaura-līlā is gratitude personified, basically. No? Is God creating a whole lila required to try to do as much as I can to pay back? Try to think about your own situation. We are not Mahaprabhu, but we are also receiving what Prabhupada would call matchless gifts. Matchless basically means you cannot match that, and that means you cannot pay back that either. You can try, and we are trying, that's sadhana, trying to return the embrace, but the more we return the embrace, the more the embrace comes back upgraded. So we are like, okay, this is matchless. This is a gift, and it's matchless. So God himself experiences that. We are invited to follow along. So that's why Mahaprabhu is crying constantly in many ways. We hear that Mahaprabhu is also the God of tears. All his tears are tears of gratitude. Mahaprabhu is crying in gratitude. Krishna experiencing Radha's love and now understanding how she loves me, how she gives herself to me, how that's too much. So he's crying. He cannot contain himself. So that's a little bit the sequence that I try to share with you in the morning in connection to the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. Brahma's question to Krishna, how you will repay back to the gopis. Again, talking about God, the God who plays, ever expansive, absorbed in Leela, losing sight of his godhood, surrounded by playmates. They play really hard, they go deep. And Brahma asking how you will repay back, Krishna in silence. Eventually, Krishna has something to say in the Rasa-Līlā, in the Gopi Gita. The confession is, Napariham, I cannot pay back, but I'll try to be as grateful as I can. So Gaura-Līlā becomes the answer to that. This is the emotional sequence in the life of the Absolute. So again, this Rasa-Līlā and this Napariham is the pinnacle, the zenith, the height of the Bhāgavatam, of the Krishna-Līlā. In that zenith, Gaura-Līlā appears. As the response to the highest peaks of Krishna-Līlā, Gaura-Līlā explodes. The volcano starts to erupt. Right? So I hope you get my point. Gaura-Līlā is not just a mere bridge taken to Krishna-Līlā, but the height of Krishna-Līlā, Gaura-Līlā is appearing. And deeper we go to Krishna-Līlā, you would go to Gaura-Līlā, we go to Krishna-Līlā, and so on and so forth. An eternal swimming adventure. And then on top of that, the Bhagavatam concludes the last verse of the Bhagavatam, Nama Sankirtanam Yasya concludes glorifying Nam Sankirtan. So the whole Bhagavatam concludes last verse at the feet of Gaura-Līlā. And then as the Bhagavad Gita concludes Sarva Dharmam Parityaja, it lives at the feet of the Bhagavatam, Dharma Pradito Kaitava. Then the Bhagavatam concludes at the feet of Nam Sankirtan Gaura-Līlā, and then we have a new chapter of the Bhagavatam called Caitanya Bhāgavatam. There's a whole book, The Life of Mahaprabhu, main biography, Caitanya Bhāgavatam, Caitanya. So we have another volume in the Bhagavatam, which is the continuation of this story. It doesn't end with Krishna and Vrindavan and Krishna-Līlā, but Gaura-Līlā becomes Parishista, the appendix, the continuation. So this Naparayaham, this verse we were exploring today, is not the end of Rasa-Līlā, but it's the beginning of Gaura-Līlā. On earth. Again, it's an eternal reality. So a few thoughts I want to share with you. Maybe later we can do some exercise together. I won't want to go much longer, but give me a few minutes to conclude. No? So Gaur Mahaprabhu, in this way we can connect Mahaprabhu to Krishna's gratitude for Radha's love, even to a feeling of healthy repentance, like I'm receiving so much, I'm not giving enough. Krishna's vow to glorify Radha as much as he can in the form of Sri Caitanya Dev, Krishna's attempt to repay her, Krishna's tasted experience of the heart of Sri Rādhā, Krishna's distribution of that. That's the important thing here, which I would like to conclude on, which is Mahaprabhu is Krishna relishing the heart, the glory, the dignity of the love of Radha, but in his own experience, that experience starts to overflow him. And that overflowing starts to sprinkle, not only sprinkle, but drown everyone around. So that's his prachar. No? The achar, he has an achar, a personal experience, and that becomes prachar, the extension of his personal experience. And that's the gift that we are being touched with. And we are here because of that, actually. All of that I say today in the morning, that's why I say yesterday, we are the byproduct of Gaura-Līlā. We are a consequence of Gaura-Līlā. Hopefully now we understand that on another level. No? Krishna is distributing the heart of Radha, the overflowing of his own experience. And that's the cause of us being here today. This is all part of our autobiography as souls in bhakti. No? This Gaura-līlā, all that is happening here. So in this way, this verse of the Bhagavatam is the womb, so to say, of Mahaprabhu and his Lila on earth, emerging in the heights of Kṛṣṇa-līlā. Apart from the other birthplace that we'll be visiting today in a few moments, the Yoga Pith, again, trying to make connecting the dots one with another. So the Yoga Pith, the birth of Mahaprabhu here in Navadvip, happens as a consequence of what we just shared today. This is another womb, another birthplace. And Gaura-līlā basically is Krishna's eternal attempt to pay a debt that cannot be paid. But he continues, and Gaura-līlā exists in eternity. There's Nitya Navadvip. So it's not that he tried a few years here on earth and he got tired of it and I'm stopped trying to pay back something I cannot pay back. He remains in Nitya Navadvip, trying to pay back forever. And we are invited to be part of that dance. So love is the universal goal of life, even for God himself, even if that entails an unpayable debt. Now that's his lila. That's a lila unto itself, a lila of unpayable debts. Let's play that game. So a few thoughts I want to share with you today, trying to set the foundation of what's actual, who is Mahaprabhu in connection to Kṛṣṇa-līlā, Gaura-līlā, birthplace. So we'll put the sharing to rest now, trying to sink in a little bit of what came. I will go for breakfast, and in a few moments we will go to Yoga Pith today, birthplace of Mahaprabhu, a few other places to visit there. Then we'll be visiting today Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, one of the main temples of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, close to it, which has its own expansion of Vrindavan there, Rādhā-Kṛṣṇa, Śyāma-Kunda, Govardhan, showing this non-difference between Kṛṣṇa-līlā, Gaura-līlā, Krishna Mahaprabhu. So may you have a blessed big official beginning of our Navadvip parikram. Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Shri Navadvip Dham Parikram Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Pramanam Hari Vanchakalpataru Vistag Vasandubhya Vachapati Tanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavebhya Namo.